welcome to Way Park Planning Commission meeting. Could everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Roll call. Everybody's here except for Jeff. Approved agenda for August 12th. Is there any additions or deletions?
No, sir.
Move to accept the agenda as printed.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed with all present. Item 4, variance for 1101 Division Street, Ultimate Sports Bar. Notice of public hearing. Way Park Planning Commission will hold a public hearing at City Hall, 13th Avenue North, 6:30 or soon thereafter, Wednesday, August 12th, to hear the following request. Request of Thomas Fredericks and David Charlotte Volk Muth for variance from City Ordinance Section 52.27 Sub 6C to reduce the front and corner side yard setback to 0 feet. The subject property is described as lots 14 and 15, block 43, town site of Way Park, all in the city of Way Park, Stearns County, Minnesota, 1101 Division Street. Public hearings opened at 6:32.
Mr. Chair, I'll have to not be able to vote on this because of relationship with Mr. Volkmuth and his wife.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. That's acknowledged. Before we begin, I did forget to note at the front end of the meeting that an additional item that was initially slated for review tonight, the continuation of the conditional use permit and plat request from Mr. Leroy Ludwig that was started last month and tabled. That was withdrawn by the applicant with the intent to resubmit after some changes. So if you happen to be here for that item tonight, we are not reviewing that particular item tonight. Getting into the issue at hand, the variance request for the Ultimate Sports Bar. I'm going to toggle over to the click share here. I think everyone in the room is likely familiar with the location of the Ultimate Sports Bar, so I'll dive right into the site plan here. The variance request is specifically from City Ordinance Section 52.27 Subdivision 6C, and it is to reduce the standard setback from the front and the corner side, which would be Division Street and 11th Avenue North, respectively. Those would typically be 30 foot for a new construction building. On the screen, you can see the kind of the vertical rectangular area that's kind of shaded in on the right side. That would be the typical, what we call a building envelope for a structure. The request is being made to reduce that setback to 0 to allow for or to facilitate the rebuilding of the Ultimate Sports Bar, which burned down earlier this year, unfortunately, but is proposed to be rebuilt in a slightly different footprint and configuration than it previously was prior to the fire. Basically, the Ultimate was a long-standing structure, but it was considered what we call legally non-conforming in its previous layout, and that it was located against the property line on both the western and southern sides. In being destroyed by accident and through no fault of the owners, we could allow the structure to be replaced in its previously existing footprint without the need for special permission or approval. But the owners and operators are taking the opportunity to pursue a kind of a redesign of the building, which would extend the building along both the southern and the eastern line. since this would be an expansion of the previous structures along that building line, we determined that a variance would be required. The foundation of the structure remains in structurally sound condition and will be utilized to the greatest extent possible in a proposed rebuilding of the structure. I would note that there's several issues with the property that are unrelated to the main building itself that we have to acknowledge that had to be addressed, and these have been kind of in progress with the owners of the Ultimate for the past year and a half or so. First of which would be that the gravel areas that are under common ownership, not just on the Ultimate, but under the entirety of the property, would have to be hard surface with concrete or asphalt in order to be brought into compliance with city code. The screening of the property from residential areas to the north and east must be completed to previously noted city standards with the applicant. This issue was created when the previous house located to the north was and owned by the applicant was destroyed in 2019 due to fire, and that created some screening issues, some of which have been resolved and some of which have yet to be resolved. We want to take the opportunity to kind of force that to occur with any approval, as well as the last issue being probably more of a minor issue, but still something that we have to take a look at, would be the temporary signage that was existing on the previous Ultimate building would not be allowed to be reestablished to its previous degree and would have to hold to city standards regarding signage. Staff is supportive of the variance request. I would show you the site plan, or excuse me, the floor plan here. Primarily, the area that's being added would be this area here and then this area on the southern side would kind of transfer some of those outdoor gaming areas that were previously along the Division Street side here, moving those inside. Staff is supportive of the variance allowance and believes that the applicant has demonstrated practical difficulties in adhering to the current standards of the ordinance and proposing use of structurally sound footings and foundations. Additionally, locating a commercial building against the corner of a pedestrian scale commercial property with parking on the back side of it is generally considered good design and planning practice, and this proposal would further that concept. In my opinion, the granting of the variance would not be detrimental to other uses already existing and permitted in the area, particularly provided that the conditions of approval to bring the other aspects into compliance are adhered to. And I'd recommend approval of the variance as requested with conditions established to ensure that the unresolved issues noted are corrected. My recommendation, again, would be for approval of the variance with the following conditions. 3 conditions as follows. Number 1, all gravel areas of the subject property, including those adjacent and under common ownership of applicants, shall be hard surface with concrete or asphalt by June 15th, 2021. Number 2, screening of property from residential areas to the north and east must be completed by June 15th, 2021. This would include completion of previously installed fence on the northern boundary to have both sides what we call finished per city ordinance requirement, and provision of fencing at 6-foot height along the eastern parking lot boundary adjacent to residential uses. That screening plan would be subject to review and approval by myself as staff. And lastly, number 3, property shall be brought into compliance with city ordinances regarding signage and shall maintain compliance with city ordinance. Utilization of temporary signs on the building or upon the property is subject to standard city ordinance and permitting requirements. Those being the recommendations and staff report, that would conclude my report aspects, so I can open it up for questions or discussion.
It is a public hearing, and anybody have anything to say for or against, please come up, state your address and your name.
Hi, I'm Neil Johnson. I live at 11th Avenue North, Wade Park. That's right across the street from the Ultimate, right next to the Mexican restaurant too. So my only concern is the screening on 11th on the east side of that property. So when I look out my front door, I don't just see parking and, you know, garbage and things like that. So if we can maybe add some kind of screening to the east side of that property, that's my only concern. Otherwise, I'm for, you know, the
Yep,
variance.
that's exactly what we were looking to
Okay,
achieve.
yeah,
It's
that was
been-
news to me that you guys
Yep,
were
it's
looking
been
at.
something we've been working on for a while, but the fire kind of obviously put a pause on that, but we have been working with the owner there on
Okay,
it.
so if that's in there, then I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Patricia Eichmeyer, 20 12th Avenue North. A few years back, I allowed Tommy a variance next to my property to remove a home, and I was promised certain things that to this day have not been fulfilled, in my opinion. He was to put Soundberry shrubbery along the fence line, which have now been hedged to about 2 foot, and they're weeds. They're not the existing arborvitae that they were supposed to be. At this point, they would be about 20, 25 feet tall, preventing the noise from his bar to penetrate into our neighborhood, which we have a pretty darn nice neighborhood over there, and we enjoy our backyards. And with the noise that comes from his bar, patrons of his bar, the outside activities, the bands get just ridiculous. The fact that the garbage is picked up at 3 a.m., the bar shuts down, they throw the recycling, everything gets crashed. It's a noise event from about 2 a.m. to 3, 4, 5 a.m. I don't feel that's conditions for a friendly neighborhood bar. If there's things that can be taken care of there, I'd appreciate it. I own the property right on the other side of the fence. He did put up a nice fence, which has become a billboard now. And I was promised shrubbery that was supposed to be a sound barrier. Any chance of something happening that direction?
That variance obviously predates me, but what we could do is backtrack that and work with the applicant and trying to establish those, whatever conditions were required as part of that, getting that into compliance where it's supposed to be. I can't speak for the specific conditions or what they say because I'm not familiar with it right now,
Okay.
but I wouldn't have an issue, Planning Commission, if you wish to put a additional condition that states something along that line. I think that'd be fair.
I agree with that.
Just,
We can clarify something about
Previous,
complying with previous variance applications.
previous approvals to
and-
be reviewed and confirm compliance as part of approval.
that is number 4.
I think the city council would appreciate seeing that as well.
I know I would. I enjoy my backyard. I've been there 27 years now, and I love my home, but the noise has gotten to be just too extreme. The last time we had a meeting, we were to work it out with Tommy, and yes, I called Tommy quite often, actually, and the noise would stop for a few minutes and then back to extremely deep booming. The bands would put the bass even deeper, and it got to be a point where I don't want to move. I don't want to leave Way Park because of a bar. I want to live in my home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Jennifer Foged. I live on 19th, 11th Avenue North, Waite Park. I live with my mother, who is also very not stout to this. She's elderly. She's not able to be here tonight. I am speaking on her behalf and my behalf as well. I do have a letter that's drawn up from her and hand-signed, if you would like a copy. Would anybody like a copy?
Please.
That would be perfect.
Thank you.
As Ms. Eichmeyer stated, as well as Neil, I do forget your last name on occasion. Thank you. You're my neighbor. I should know that. A lot of the issues that both of them have mentioned have been addressed, and my mother would like them to be addressed as well. So if you could take a moment over to look at those. I know that there's a short time and everybody is busy and we all want to get home to our families. However, there's a few things in here, and this might sound like a really not sophisticated letter, but it's been written in the heat of the moment, and I've read it a few times. And unfortunately, while I don't mind having a neighborhood bar, I would like to have a community within that bar. I would like to have the community be respected. I would like to have the noise level, the patrons behave themselves. Excuse me, but I've had enough people peeing in my front yard for a lifetime, and I'm done with it. My bushes don't survive, my plants that I grow don't survive, and quite frankly, now that I have a daughter that's out of school, it's inappropriate. There's other young children that live in this block. There's a lot of people in communities, and I'm sorry that there's not more people here to advocate for this, but it would be really, really nice if somebody could just address all the concerns that have been brought up tonight. And as far as the variance, I don't know why we need to have a variance for District 742. They're not really anywhere in the block area. So why are we issuing a variance for traffic control? I guess that's another question. I don't understand why we have to wigwam around that. Maybe I'm just not seeing the bigger picture, but
Well, I appreciate your concerns, but as far as the District 742, that's obviously a separate issue that was reviewed separately. That's unrelated to this request.
correct. Oh, I know that. Maybe we need to have another conversation? Am I wrong?
I think, in planning commissioners, have you had a moment to review this? Obviously it's kind of difficult to review a full-page letter on the fly like this, but.
No, that's fine. I have further copies. You guys go ahead and review what you need to do, and I can sit down or whatnot.
Sign issues is down on the south end, not up here. That was addressed separate for District 742.
Well, my mom's letter has absolutely nothing to do with the signage at the moment, but that's the part of our meeting this evening. Yes, of course.
So I would note some of these aspects are obviously issues that are related to police department or their response or response times for this, but I can't speak to that because that's obviously not my department. But that is something we can try to clarify ahead of any city council review is what's the number of police calls and what's the response to this been. But basically, what I'm getting at is land use and enforcement issues are related, but they're at the same time separate.
Correct. I understand that, and I truly do understand that. But coming from somebody who's there 24/7, she is increasingly upset with regard to the noise and the traffic, and no offense, it's not you, it's the patrons. I get that, but can there be some policing of the patrons?
Well, that's something I don't know that we can necessarily incorporate as part of a land use variance request. I mean, obviously, it's something that should be addressed, but.
Right, this is about a land use variance, I get that, but there's other things that go along with this, and that's what I'm here to address as well. Unless you guys want to have another meeting, I can come back. That's not a problem.
Well,
I can totally come back.
what my thought is that those issues are better perhaps addressed by the police department. And the city council can ultimately direct the police department to review or take that up with the owner operator here. But I don't think that's necessarily within our authority to do that. But we can acknowledge that as part of the review.
Okay.
And I don't have an issue bringing that up. If it's something that is a problem, it should be addressed, but I don't necessarily know that it's the planning commission's role to try and address
No, I know that.
unruly patrons or people urinating in yards or broken glass or trash being picked up at the wrong time of the night. It's our power to do anything with those aspects is limited. I'm not saying that it's not a concern. It obviously is, and I concur with you.
Okay.
Because I get these calls and they come to me, but it's not really my area to deal in.
Well, is there a possibility that you could point us in the direction of who could help us out with that?
Well, I'm willing to act as kind of a go-between and bring that up to the police department and at a staff level. I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
I would say,
Okay.
excuse me, I would recommend that you come to the city council meeting and address them as well. Every city council meeting, they give you a few minutes right at the beginning of it for the public to get up and address and express any concerns they have. That's where and when you need to do that.
I have
Chief
done
of
that once or
police is
twice.
there,
Well, see, right here, I'm on behalf of my mom and myself as well, but here's the difference. I end up traveling quite a bit, so I'm not home all the time. These are more her concerns than they are mine,
Sure.
because I'm not always home.
of course.
But then she's my backdoor neighbor.
These are legitimate concerns,
Yes,
certainly, and we're glad that you expressed them, and we want you to continue to do so and feel that you can freely. But as John says, there's nothing really we can do about these specific concerns when we're looking at this discussion and this request.
But the variance is to allow, larger place than
Build.
the neighborhood bar that was pre-existing. The place that was
Mhm.
smaller was a big problem already.
that's,
And you're allowing a variance to enlarge a place that was already a problem to begin with.
that's where I'm trying to come in and talk to all of you about, is because I want to nip this in the bud before it becomes an issue. Does that make any sense?
If it was an issue, wouldn't the city of Way Park step in my 34 years in business and condemn me for somewhere along the line, having a picture painted of disagree by two people?
Tom, if you're gonna speak, you have to wait your turn, okay? Well, that goes for you as well. I mean, we have to, it doesn't do us any good if we can't record the conversation. So if folks could please use the mic and hold off from conversing until you're up at the mic.
I have one more thing to say. I am all for you rebuilding. I am all for a neighborhood bar, community, whatever. You want to have a games area, outdoor area, that's totally fine with me. I don't have an issue with that. I loved coming and having your food. I loved every now and then on a Sunday night when I got bored, I'd come over and have a Jameson and watch TV. I don't have an issue with that. None whatsoever. I just want to make sure that the garbage is not too loud, there's a sound barrier, and pavement is there, and have your patrons please respect the fact that it's a neighborhood. You know this. You said 34 years, right? You've been there 34 years. I don't have a problem with this. My mom doesn't have a problem with this. But she's getting old, and quite frankly, she's a cranky old woman. Everybody gets that. Everybody gets old. I don't have an issue. She doesn't have an issue, except for the stuff that happened. So, can we move forward?
Tom, please, Mike.
I-
Well, if we need to have both sides of the record on tape here, okay?
Fair enough.
And that
Okay.
goes for everybody, again.
I'm sorry.
No,
That was
no,
my
you're
bad.
fine, you're fine.
I was out of turn. It just, basically, especially with the world the way it is, can we all just please get along? Can we all just find a happy medium somewhere and just get along? Honest to God. So, within that, and now I'm done preaching, Neil, you might have, or might not have wanted to have something to say.
I would echo Mr. Blackburn's comments that this should be, I would encourage you to come to the city council meeting, any city council meeting, not just the one where this is being reviewed. Because frankly, if PD doesn't know that this is a problem, and I can't speak for any calls that have been made or response times or anything like that, I can't speak accurately to that. I'm not here all night, every night, like police department is. But I think you're gonna get faster, maybe more proper attention if the council is made aware of this and then directs staff accordingly one way or the other.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
I don't know what the calls are, so, and I do get some of those. I haven't had any contact for a while, so I guess I haven't realized that there's been continued issues there. I know we've been trying to work through correcting the screening and some of those things on kind of a separate, but trying to take the opportunity here to expedite that issue. But I haven't had any calls or anything, because some people will come to me not knowing what my role is, and sometimes those calls are directed to me because the person answering the phone might not know who it should go to. They start with
Right.
me, even though it's really more of
Correct.
an enforcement issue. But please come to the city council meeting, and that goes for anybody in the audience here. That's why we make those couple minutes available at the start of the meeting, so any issue can be brought up.
and I will echo your phrase, if you don't mind me borrowing that. I will try my absolute best to come to all of the city council meetings, if I am available to do so. So.
Yeah, but please don't think that this is, gonna be dropped at this meeting.
No, I don't, so.
Yeah, even if we can't necessarily do anything within our purview for those actions, it's on record now, and then that this is
Yes,
then passed along to the city council as part of their reviews, and they can incorporate that how they see fit.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She had mentioned that the district was looking for some kind of variance for a sign. The letter that we got with the notice in the mail, the cover letter was very confusing. It kind of almost said that the school district was looking for a variance on Tom's land for a permanent sign. So that's where,
I'm thinking
there's some
that
confusion there.
I'm thinking that what you're seeing was a typo from what I'm getting. That would explain why
Yeah, I
she
was,
referenced the sign here.
right, I was totally confused too, so I just wanted to let you guys know that.
I apologize for that. That was probably my mistake. But what it was this one is the correct one, and I apologize. That's obviously my error. The sign variance was last month. It was for a separate request being made for Quarry View School that is unrelated to this request. Basically, in doing the public hearing notice, I must have made a mistake and typoed that.
Okay, no, not the same.
I apologize for that, but that explains, I'm sorry I wasn't following what you were saying before, but it makes sense now. Yeah, this would have been the proper one you received, or you should have received, but that's my mistake. I apologize for that.
Anybody else wants to come up to speak?
Hi, my name's Tom Frericks. I am the owner of Ultimate Sports Bar and Grill. First off, I just want to thank you guys for considerations off of what I'm looking at doing. Unfortunately, how it ended, not knowing what I wanted to do at the age of where I was at, I do think that what I am creating is a much better environment for for myself and for the city of White Park. I do completely understand and hear what they talk about. The frustrating part is when you're on this side of the fence, first off, my real estate's zone commercial, which means if you purchase next to zone commercial or next to an airport or next to railroad tracks, I assume you gotta deal with the fact that you knew what you were purchasing next to. I have tried to work, and I think we've tried to work really well together. That's a different breed, that I can't control. But I do get their points. But I do think that the history of 34 years, if the picture of what I was running was to that degree, there's no way there wouldn't be a record inside the police department of nonstop calls to the Ultimate Sports Bar and Grill. Ultimate doesn't get calls for fights. Ultimate doesn't get called for disturbances. We deal with alcohol, so we're going to be in that environment 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. The point being is I think we've always prided ourselves on the type of establishment we run. And I've always tried to teach my employees I'd rather be slow with the sophisticated clientele than busy with an obnoxious clientele base. And I think we at least have tried to always lay a foundation for who we were, what we're about. I don't think there's a bar or restaurant, and I mean this with no arrogance, in this community that has ever given back more to this community from youth all the way up. So with that said, I understand, much of what they talk about because I tried to put myself in that position, but I also understand that for the line of work I've chosen to do, I think we do it really well in regards to trying to do it at a very respectful, appropriate mannerism. So with that said, I appreciate what you guys are trying to help me do here to make a better environment for obviously my business purposes, but for the city of White Park as well, because what I am trying to build and create would be a beautiful, beautiful building in a very marquee part of this community. So thanks for the time, though. Any questions at all?
I have one.
Sure.
How much larger is this building?
Square footage wise, I don't know offhand. If you would be, are you somewhat familiar with what the existing building stood?
Sure.
On the back part, when Chekakowski built it, there was an angled wall. And where that wall came to the corner where the back ramp staircase is, what I'm wanting to do is square that straight back towards, is that 11th over where you live? Over towards 11th, and then squaring that up. And then squaring out the front of the building, I think it's about 10 feet, squaring it straight adjacent with Division Street, and then bringing it in. So what I'm really, the back part of it is where my restrooms would be moved to, and the front part of it would be where a Festivue would be built, and a little game room would be squared off in the front of the building
So
there.
there's only gonna be one exit out that back
Well,
side?
oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
On that north side, there's only gonna be that one exit, whereas now there had been two?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
that
And what
one
I'm really trying to do is reroute the entire configuration of bringing people to the front of Division Street and trying to get them from the backside, which will help alleviate
Right.
much from their point of view. The other thing that, last year, you guys had allowed me to put a second edition onto my deck. We went to 4 nights of music. Another thing that we really addressed, because these guys were, they alerted me several times in a very polite mannerism that music was loud, just loud because of the bass and so on and so forth. So in the upper north corner where that little opening is, that's where we're gonna move the stage and direct everything towards Division Street music-wise, and then enclose the stage with a rope mount canopy to, again, things we're trying to work with in regards to trying to make a better building, but also trying to alleviate some of the headaches that had grown with the business as I kept making the business bigger and bigger along the way.
Right, well, I could see that. You're trying to streamline
I am,
parking and the foot traffic. and
I am.
everything.
I'm trying to make a better business for myself to make better source of revenue off of, but I'm also trying to create an environment that's so much more feasible for myself, for the neighborhood, for everything we're trying to create with it and do with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or that from the public?
I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Public hearing's closed at 7:04. Commissioners, discussion? We need to go through,
Before people leave, I apologize for interrupting. I would note that the intent is for this item, one way or another, unless it's tabled, to be reviewed by the city council this coming Monday on the 17th at 6:30 PM in this room. That's the plan pending action from the planning commission here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No, I don't want anything, Joe, anything you guys need to do right now.
You're welcome to stay if you wish, but nothing we absolutely need at the moment.
Commissioners, discussion? Anybody have any input?
Mr. Chair, I think we have heard the concerns about this. I think it, considering the fact that it's been a long-standing business in Wade Park and has been well-received for a long time, to add this variance at their request would seem like very minimal request. I guess, I think three conditions that have been brought forth by staff. I think we should add a fourth, that appropriate screening for vision and sound be incorporated to the best of their ability. And if that can be done, I would be in favor of granting of the variance.
Number 2 is for the screening. Number 4, we were talking about having for the previous variance.
To review the standards of the previous variance and ensure compliance with that. I don't know the standards that were done before. I don't even know when it was.
Sure. I will second that motion.
Before we go to a motion, we need to do findings of facts.
Oh, geez. Didn't he make that motion?
Yeah. I guess 6, finding of facts. Is the variance in harmony with the purpose and the intent of the ordinance?
Yes.
Is the variance consistent with comprehensive plan?
So, we're replacing an existing facility.
Does the proposal put property to the use in a reasonable manner? Yes.
Yes, certainly.
Are there unique circumstances to the property not created by the landowner?
I think the fire created the circumstances.
Will the variance, if granted, alter the essential character of the locality?
I wouldn't say, not really, no.
Okay. Now we can have a motion.
Okay.
I would make a motion for approval of the variance for the Ultimate Sports Bar with the 3 conditions staff has stated, and the 4th for the review of the previous permit.
And I will second that motion.
We got a motion and a second to approve with the staff's recommendation. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Passed with 3 of us. Jeff is gone and Mark is sustained.
Thank
Nice
you.
building, Tom.
Good luck.
Good luck to you.
Tom, I'd recommend attending that city council meeting as well on Monday.
On Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
6:30.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any new business?
No, sir. I, just for a note, I do expect we will have an item or 2 for next month meeting, so we're anticipating having the September meeting as of right now.
Okay.
9th, I think? No. 8th?
Yep, 8th.
Labor Day is as late as it can be this year. It starts on a Tuesday.
That's all, no
And
new
do
business.
are you assuming or thinking that the tabled item from last month will probably make it by next month?
I'm
or-
expecting that's pretty likely, yes.
Get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion for adjournment.
Got a motion, and a second for adjournment. All in favor, signal with saying aye.
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 Meeting closed at 7:10. Great.